Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in this space that we are creating to help educate and entertain in all areas of real estate.
So get ready to get real with Jen and Shell. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I am Jennifer Job.
And I'm Shelly Woodbridge, and you are tuning in to Get Real with Jen and Shell.
Yes.
So exciting. Okay, Jen, we have a treat for you guys today. What are we doing today?
Today we're talking about timelines.
I know. Yeah, I know. It doesn't sound as exciting as we think it is, but we are decoding the entire process from beginning to end of the transaction, not just from the realtor perspective, not just from the lender perspective, but from both sides, so that we are literally taking the mystery out of the entire process for you guys. You're going to know what to expect every step of the way, even when there are some pitfalls and problems that we're going to come across. And I can guarantee you that decoding this episode and the transaction process is going to be way easier than decoding Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance.
Also super fun. But yes, so we work together, but separate. Reminds me of that movie.
Together,
But
separate. The widely debated, what do I do first when I want to purchase a home, is, do I talk to a realtor first or do I talk to a lender first? What is your hot take on this?
Well, I think it's easier for people to reach out to a realtor and look for a recommendation for a lender. Now, do I prefer if you come to me first because then I can have you completely ready to go to a realtor? Absolutely. But it doesn't really work like that on a normal basis.
Yeah, no, I would say probably 70% of the time they reach out to a realtor first, and then that realtor connects them with their preferred lender partners that are going to be the best fit.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but I will kind of agree with you. I prefer my people to speak to the lender first, because that is going to really help guide them on what to expect. And then I can then adjust and work in tandem with the lender based on the facts. And it just makes everything go a little bit smoother. But there's not a right or wrong starting point. Realtor or lender, either is acceptable, but you do need to start with one or the other.
Right.
And just start. And a good realtor is also going to educate you and point you in the direction to a lender that's going to meet your needs.
The way to start with the lender, and we've talked about this in a previous episode, is you just have to do an application. So you get your application done. I take a quick peek at what you've said. I'm like, man, this looks pretty good. Send me these documents. I'll send you a list. Once I review your documents and I review your application together, then we're good to go. Pre-approval letter, here we come. Let's get it going. So we make sure we're following all of the rules on our side before we get started, and so that we don't run into any kind of error later on.
And we love that. This is a very key point that I want you to really drill down, is we turn in the documents for review before we start kind of looking, so that we can avoid any pitfalls and problems that may come. Now, can they still come?
Absolutely.
Sure. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But this helps us prepare for the fight. You don't go to war on a whim. Sure, you plan. And this is much more enjoyable.
I'm not sure I like to call buying a house a war. Okay, listen, it should be actual fun, okay, for you. And so the purpose of us is to take that stress out for you. So all you have to do is fill out the app and get us your docs. And then you just let it roll.
Yes. So one thing I think that a lot of people get frustrated with, just in general, and not just in the real estate world, but in general, is waiting.
Mm-hmm.
How long does it take from application to documents being submitted?
Okay, so if you're really good at, like, you've already got your stuff ready, you're ready to go, or you're taking a look at the list and you're being very responsive, from the time you do your application to the time I can review your docs all together, maybe an hour. 30 minutes to an hour. It just depends on how fast you are. Now, if you're having trouble finding some documents, which is fine, sometimes that happens, we're just at the mercy of your pace. So once you've got your stuff together, then I can go either as fast or as slow as you want me to.
Awesome.
Some example of documents are going to be like your original W-2s from your previous employer for 2 years. And we may even ask you for end of year pay stubs, because if you have overtime or bonus time, we have to average that over 2 years. And so we may ask you for those things, and you might be like, I don't know where the heck my 2023 end of year pay stub is. It's a little harder to track down. We get it. But if you need the income, it's very, very helpful to kind of be prepared for that. We need your ID. We need 60 days of bank statements. If you're self-employed, we need your last 2 years of tax returns to make sure that things that you've written off because you didn't want to pay Uncle Sam. Reference our last episode where we talked about taxes. So we look at all of that just to see what we can add back in, and then we go from there.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So let's say we are now in the process. We had the thought and the dream and the idea. We wanted to purchase a home. We have reached out to a lender. We've done the application, and y'all, that application literally takes like 10 minutes,
Maybe.
like it doesn't take long.
Also, if you mess something up, don't worry. Yeah, we'll just ask you some questions. We'll just clear up a few things. So,
yeah, and it happens all the time. Yeah, especially on income.
always.
always on income. So you can't break the system.
No.
You're going to be fine. So we've done that. You've turned in all your documents. The lender has excitedly said, hey guys, y'all are pre-approved. Y'all are good to go.
Here's your letter.
And we get that letter, which is gold. And then you come back to your realtor, and then we start looking at properties. Yes. So this is typically the fun part of the transaction, where the realtor is sending you properties. You're probably excited and up at night on your computer or your phone, scrolling as you're in bed, going through all the inventory, just kind of looking. And we're making plans, and we're going to see the properties. Just always go into homes when you're touring as if somebody's watching you and listening to you. Just always keep that in the back of your mind. So we're going to start looking at homes. We're going to find a home that is a great fit for you. And then we're going to structure our offer based on what we have from the lender, that we know what our buying power is, and how much money we have saved, how much money we may need to ask the seller for in concessions or closing cost help. And then we just structure a really strong offer. I write everything up, or the realtor will write everything up, get signatures on it, and then we send it off into the universe.
I think that's really important too. Seller concessions, we use that word a lot, but it's literally just the seller leaving money at the table, at the closing table for you, so that you can purchase this transaction without having to pay too much out of pocket.
So we get the offer submitted. We get great news, and our offer is accepted. And we are thrilled and pumped, and you may be feeling a little bit nauseous. And I always say, if you're not feeling a little bit nauseous, you are not doing real estate correctly.
Right.
It's just the way it is. You should. It's a very big purchase.
It's the biggest purchase of your life.
Yes. So offer accepted. Immediately, what happens then? All signatures have been obtained, and the contract has been executed. This is a phrase that you may hear your realtor use frequently, is the execution date. That is just the date that everybody signed. All parties are signed, and now that starts the clock on absolutely everything that we need to meet our deadlines for this transaction. The first being the deadline to turn in earnest and option money.
And for your realtor to get the contract over to the lender
immediately.
Okay? If there's any realtors listening, send it over immediately. I cannot stress this enough.
Immediately.
Because we also have timelines on the lender side. We have 3 days to do your initial disclosures, which is where we kind of say, hey, here's a loan estimate based on this house. This is how much we're estimating and all the fees that you're going to pay. Here's your final number for cash to close. Here we go. This is also a great time for me to discuss locking it with you. So we talked about locking before. I think maybe this is our first time. So you have to lock your rate. So the market moves up and down every day and sometimes every hour. And you just never know how much it's going to cost. We don't have a crystal ball. And so my recommendation is always to just get the contract, lock that rate down, go. Because we've already kind of discussed a rate before you've gotten started. And it's just better not to be guessing out in the world. That's just like one less stressful thing for you to worry about.
Yeah, perfect. So I will say this one more time. Once the contract is executed, signed by all parties, immediately, we get that contract to the lender and to title.
Yep.
Now, the first deadline that we come across, while we have done that and the lender is starting to have those conversations with you about rate lock and all of that disclosures, which is super important, earnest and option money are due. That money needs to be taken to title within 72 hours of execution. This is very important because if you do not turn in your earnest and option money as a buyer, the seller has the right to terminate the contract at any point in time until that money is turned in. Also, if you don't turn it in within the 72 hours, you forfeit your right to have an option period. And the option period is where we are literally paying for time to do our due diligence and get all of the inspections done on this property. Roof, home, maybe we're doing a sewer scope. We're doing all the things, test.
Not always required, though.
Not always required, but highly recommended.
Sure.
We need to know if little guys are out there munching on your house.
Yeah.
We got it. We got it.
So in that first 10 days that you're in an option, or however long your option period is, typically 10 days, you're going to be communicating with your realtor hardcore.
We are like on it back and forth because time is of the essence. I am not wasting a single second. We are hitting it hard. You are going to be overwhelmed, and I am going to love on you and carry you through it because it's just a lot of information that we have to not only get from other parties, but then we have to sit down and decipher and ask questions so that I make sure as a realtor that you have a full understanding and that you are confident and comfortable moving forward. And while we're doing all of this with the house, you're also talking to Belinda and looking at all the numbers, including home insurance.
Yes, I may just be submitting your stuff to underwriting, and we're just waiting for an underwriter to give us a conditional approval, is what we call it, which just means we like this file. We have a couple of questions we want to clear up. And so then I will be requesting more documentation. I'll probably wait until you're finished with your inspections before I ask you to pay for your appraisal and get that ordered. And an appraisal is different from inspections. So inspections helps like really get into the bones of the house. An appraisal is a little bit lighter, but it tells us, is the house worth what the person is asking? So you don't overpay.
Right. So, and we will, I also kind of let my people know from the realtor side of it that we are going to have to pay for an appraisal. Usually needs to be paid up front. But we'll do that after our option period has ended and we have renegotiated anything that may need to have been renegotiated. The option period. So I kind of think of it as like a book. So we have a contract. That's our book. It is signed, sealed, delivered. Then we have our option period where we can open the book back up and rewrite some of the pages if we need to. Once that option period ends, we close that book back up and we kind of set it on the shelf. We're doing stuff with the lender. And then we have the appraisal window. So when the appraisal window comes around, there's a chance that we may have to open this book again and rewrite some of the pages if, say, for instance, the appraisal states that there are needed repairs. So if we're FHA, VA, or USDA, say there was some chipped paint or anything like that, we're going to have to renegotiate to get those things taken care of because they are lender required and we can't get financing without it being addressed. Right. Or, God forbid, the home came in low on value.
The worst. The worst. Listen, I have a couple of people in this transaction that I'm not a super fan of.
Seamsies.
Sometimes it's an appraiser and sometimes it's an underwriter. Because sometimes we'll get conditional approval. We're waiting for the appraisal. We're getting our documents ready to go back to the underwriter. Appraisal comes in low. Underwriter comes back with all these documents we need. And then we submit all of that. We get it all fixed. We get it figured out. And then the underwriter says, wait, now I also have more questions. And you're like, holy, are you serious? Just tell us all the information at once.
Yeah. Don't gatekeep. Don't gatekeep. Just let us know. Underwriters get a really bad rap in this business.
100%.
Some of it, 93% of it is deserved.
I don't think that's true. They know all of the regulations. So that is their whole job. And we are out of focus again because I move too much.
I don't even think it's you.
Oh, hi. I'm back.
Cool. So you don't agree that underwriters, 93% of them deserve to be flogged in a public square,
I don't.
throwing cabbages.
So underwriters they're very knowledgeable. They know all of the ins and outs of every regulation. That's their whole job. And as a lender, I know some things. I know a lot of things. I may not understand the small caveats in certain things that underwriters do. And so that is why they're just literally picking us apart, like with a magnifying glass, just looking at all your stuff. So if you submit something and then it reveals something else, that's why they're asking for documents again. It's not, they're not doing it to be mean. But let's say that you submit something showing that the earnest money has cleared your account. And all of a sudden you have all these afterpay things on your bank statement. Now we need you to explain what the afterpay is because that wasn't on your previous bank statement. So what is this?
Okay. So I understand. They have a purpose and they are good at what they do.
They're the gatekeepers.
They are the gatekeepers, but you cannot convince me as a realtor that some of them do not deserve to be in the stocks and just have vegetables thrown at them.
So here's the problem. They don't get to talk to you. So I've talked to you and she's talked to you and we know your entire life story. But on paper, sometimes that's a little harder to explain. And all they can see is what we turn in. And so they just get a small picture. And so it takes all of the emotion out. While the rest of us are feeling some type of way, they're like, regulation, what you've submitted, yes or no. I mean, it is black and white.
It's very black and white. And I think that at the core, that is my issue with underwriting.
Mm-hmm.
Is it is so black and white, and we all know that real life
is messy,
and it's full of different colors and different shades of gray and all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just not allowed to see that the way that we do. And sometimes they do, but it doesn't change the fact that they still need us to show them
to prove it.
We have to prove it. So sometimes that involves letters of explanation.
Yes. And this is where having a really good lender comes into play, because there are some times where I'm like, oh, I understand what she's missing or what he's missing. I understand what they're not seeing in this file. And I understand what my client's doing. And so I just have to speak to both. Right. So I just have to bring you guys together like little puzzle pieces and get it all fixed. So
yes. And the realtors sometimes, now I don't want to put all the blame on the underwriters here. Okay. Because sometimes our beautiful clients, our amazing people, don't respond timely.
Right.
So if we need a document or a bill of sale or a verification of rent from your private landlord,
we need your help.
We need your help. And sometimes y'all don't think it's such a big deal
Mm-hmm.
and you put it in the back burner and then you forget. And when you do that, then the realtor has to come along and extend some deadlines because now we're at risk of being at default. And so it can get very, very touchy and things like that. Everything when you are under contract, time is really of the essence. And I know it can be super inconvenient
Mm-hmm.
and not ideal, but we have to move quickly and get everything turned in to the lender so that she can then keep the underwriters happy. Because if the underwriters are not happy, you will be homeless. And we are in the business of not making you homeless. That's literally our whole job, is to prevent you from being homeless.
Right.
And so help us help you and do things in a timely manner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we just try to move at your pace.
Yeah. And we try to match your energy, unless your energy is that of the sloths. And then we are trying to do everything we can to keep things in a forward motion so that we don't stagnate.
Also, if you need help or you're not understanding something, you have to tell us, because we see it every day and every transaction is so different than the last one.
So while we are done out of the auction period, we've negotiated everything. We're waiting on appraisal. We're turning in documents. We're dealing with underwriters.
Yes.
Who lovingly I often refer to as trolls.
In the kindest way.
Mm-hmm.
You got to feed the troll.
You do. So sometimes I'll be like, you got to give them the Skittles.
Yeah, so that they'll let you cross the bridge.
They'll just let us cross. Because we can't go anywhere without them. They are a vital, necessary part to the transaction. You never see them. They move in the darkness. Yeah. We never know what they're going to do.
There's also some other people involved.
Yes.
On the mortgage side. So we're also working with a processor the whole time. And the processor is getting information from the title company, and they're doing all your verifications of employment and rent and all of the things. And so we are moving very fast, and there's several of us working on your file on the lending side while you're working with your realtor. So there may be times where I talk to you a whole lot, probably after your 10-day option period. And then there's a lot of times where you're speaking to your realtor every day. And then the last week before closing, you're going to get a couple of things. You're going to get initial closing disclosures from us. That means we've gotten some preliminary balancing from title. We've pulled taxes. At this point, we've already picked insurance. We'll help you with that along the way. Don't worry. But you've picked some insurance. And so now our numbers are getting closer. And so you sign your initial closing disclosures, and you have to sign that a certain amount of time before we can actually close. And so generally, you need it at least 3 days before, right? So I'm sorry, not generally. That is the rule. And so if you're not signing those in a timely manner, and we're supposed to close in 3 days, and you don't sign them till the next day after it came, we got to push closing because it's a law. So we try to get them to you early, so that we're not pushing that deadline. We really try not to okay, well, here's your disclosures. So I think that that's important to remember. And then we get clear to close. We have your final number. Balancing works with title. Once everyone's balanced, we get that final total that you bring to closing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then at that point, the realtor has already kind of been running back and forth with title, lender. We're checking in. But, after the option period, it's kind of like the silent week and a half, because the realtor doesn't really have anything left to do until the appraisal comes in that involves talking to you. We're still doing all the things and checking in, making sure we're moving in tandem with the lender. We're moving ahead with title. Are there title issues on the Schedule C? Because I'm going to need to review those and see if we need to get those cleared. And so that we're being preemptively proactive to keep things on time. And if we get a wind of an issue coming, we immediately start problem solving. Because at the core, a realtor is a professional problem solver.
Yes.
That is what we do. We're like, this is unfortunate. Here are 3 options. This is what we can do. Let's see which one fits best. And so we're there. We get that clear to close. It is so exciting. Everybody can kind of breathe a sigh of relief.
Yes.
Beautiful. We're going to our scheduled time to close at the title company where we will sign. And the escrow agent is going to go over everything in that and answer any questions you may have. Closing can take anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour. It just depends on how many questions you have or who the escrow agent is.
Looking at you, Cameron Nettle.
We love Cameron.
He's so fun. So there are some things like we'll discuss all of your documents. It will not be the first time that you've seen these documents. I will talk to you so many times until I'm blue in the face, and you'll actually come to closing pretty well educated.
So we're at the closing table. You're signing everything.
You brought a cashier's check, not actual cash.
Don't bring cash. Don't you bring cash to my closing table.
I don't want you to deposit cash. I want to hear no cash ever. Except I'm going to say it. Cash to close. It's very annoying. I know.
Yeah, I know. It's very misleading. Cash to go, but not real cash.
We mean like a cashier's check.
Cashier's check.
From verified funds.
Verified funds. Yeah. It's a whole thing. But I also give you that spiel when we're in the thick of it before we sign anything.
Yeah.
Cash isn't real. I also give you the spiel about don't you quit your job. Don't you change your job.
Don't you buy anything?
Don't buy anything expensive. Don't you open up a new line of credit.
Ever.
And it gets tricky at this time of year because like Labor Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, they always have those really fun appliance sales.
They do.
And they're like, oh, if you open up a new card with us, you get blah, blah, blah. No, you don't.
Until you sign those paperwork at the end of the transaction, you will not open a Lowe's credit card.
You won't. Because you were going to have a really nice fancy fridge and no house to put it in.
You're going to have a terrible time. Yes.
It's so
and we've had people like buying cars. Like
don't do that.
They'll go the day before closing and buy a vehicle. Well, that severely messes up your debt to income.
If you find yourself in a position where you have to make a large purchase during the transaction period, phone your lender. We're calling a friend. Hey, Jen, my car crapped out. I need to buy another one. Is this going to mess anything up? Yes. 9 times out of 10, yes, it is. But sometimes you may have the DTI, the debt to income, that it necessarily wouldn't be horrible. But you got to check.
Yeah.
You got to check with the boss.
Yeah. Because I'm all for like maybe just borrow somebody's car for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Just to be on the safe side, because that's another thing is we never really know what credit is going to do.
Nope.
We never know.
You open a new account, credit tanks. You close an account, credit tanks. You pay all your bills on time, credit barely squeaks up.
Weird.
Credit.
Yeah. So, but that's really it. It's a 4-week period most of the time. And that's pretty much how it plays out is approval, offer, earnest and option turned in. Option, we're doing all of our home inspections. We're done. Book is back on the shelf. Lender is getting information from you. Processors are working. Underwriters are praying to whatever they do down there in their little dark, cold cubby holes that just make them mean.
I do kind of like, I don't know a lot of underwriters, but I do kind of wonder, like, do we stick them in the basement?
I swear they're in a basement somewhere with very dim lighting.
Just unhappy.
Just there's a pipe dripping somewhere.
Just constantly.
And they're just in a bad mood and they're just hunched over their computer. And I always feel also like they wear all black.
I do wear a lot of black, but it's because it's my favorite color. It's like my soul. It's dark.
Underwriters kind of feel like the secrets we keep in the basement. And they're just scary to me.
You know what it kind of reminds me of when you like watch a show and you have to go to the basement to get to the records and it's like old school, just paper on the wall. Like, you know what I mean? Like giant binders. And they're the people just like with their glasses, like looking through the binder.
And the chain, the glasses around the neck. They're like,
Let me see if this falls. Yeah,
What
so
is
that's what it
that?
feels like.
On Monsters Inc.
Oh, shoot, what is her name?
Edna.
Hold on, let me look at
Yeah, look it up. Okay, why can't I think about this? Where she's like, I'm watching you, Wazowski.
Always watching.
I feel those are underwriters.
Hmm.
That's what they are.
Roz.
Yeah. Right. That's
The image.
the image that I always have. I have had way too many days ruined by an underwriter.
Yes.
Way too many days. I'm like, what do you mean? And it's not, I don't mind if it's for legitimate reasons. And to them, they're all legitimate.
100%.
Disclaimer. But to me, they're not. And I'm just, sometimes, I'm not as big of a movie girl as Jennifer is. But there's sometimes, what is that one? Indiana Jones, where you have to like go through all of these incredible tasks and you're like jumping over things and like leaping over things and you're like,
ball's just coming.
It's just like the pressure's following you and you gotta like weight exchange something and just so you can survive and make it to the end.
That's not how I want you to feel.
But that's how we feel.
This is the job for us sometimes, not all the time.
No, not all the time. Most of the time.
It's just a lot. There's a lot of people involved.
Yes.
And there's a lot of paperwork involved. And so we just try really hard to keep it as smooth as possible so that you're not feeling that pressure too.
Right. It's very rarely, I've had a lot of people who are like, oh, this was a smooth process. And I will tell you right now, no, it was not.
We are definitely grabbing a margarita after this because me and Shelly went through it for you.
Like where like the building exploded behind us as we walked away or slow, but yes. Y'all don't know that.
And that's, if you have a good lender and you have a good realtor, you will not feel that way.
Yeah. Unless we absolutely have to loop you in, which we try really hard to solve it without having to.
We like to come as solutions based. Hey, yeah, right. Here's a potential issue. Here's some ideas for solutions that we can do. So we try to be proactive.
Very proactive in this. But if you ever were wondering what it's like as a realtor and a lender during the underwriting phase, very Indiana Jones, very life or death, very I might be crying in my office.
If anybody wants a job, we are always looking for realtors and
lenders. So I mean,
after this glowing review,
come on, but we keep doing it. Right?
I know, it's so satisfying. So our favorite part is the closing table.
Yes,
because you're there, you're happy, you brought all your stuff.
We've walked this journey with you, and we want to see it to completion. And it's just super satisfying, and yeah, it's such a good feeling. Whether it's on the buying side or the selling side, for me, I'm like, we did it. We got there. We're Dora. We did it. We did it. We did it. We did it. Yay! Oh, that just went.
Soy Dora. Sorry. Soy Jennifer. It's a J.
Well, I can't even try saying my name. I got the double L.
Shade.
That is hard. You should have seen me in all my Spanish classes. I was like, my name is Gloria. Soy Gloria. I'm not saying Shelly.
Yeah, no, I get it. Well, anyway,
that's grilled. That's fine. So, but that's the process broken down, curtains peeled back, every step of the way. That's what it is. That's what we're doing. There are so many people involved. It's not just the realtor carrying the weight of the transaction on their back. It's not the lender being unrealistic with needing all these documents.
No, we're laughing behind you, just surprised.
So if you think that you are ready to get in the process of buying a home or selling a home, obviously feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to answer any questions and we would love to work with you. We'll see you next time.
Catch you later. Why am I in charge of
No,
this
not that one.
You gotta hit stop.
Oh. So the very first step. Nope. All right.
And we're out of focus. We're trying to refocus. Hello. Hi. 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 Just watch this episode drunk.
I'm just gonna flick this little.
Oh, that's what it is. Every time
It
moves.
is that. It's that. Okay.
Okay. Hi, we're back.
Hi. It's fine. Okay.